Microsoft officially ended free support of Windows 7 earlier in January 2020, and the Free Software Foundation are currently running a campaign encouraging Microsoft to upcycle Windows 7, release it as open source software, and give it to the community to develop and maintain. So they're trying to get 7,777 signatures. They're currently at, 7,748, so actually pretty close there. So on January the 14th, Windows 7 officially reached its end of life, bringing an end to updates as well as its 10 years of poisoning education, invading privacy, and threatening user security. The end of Windows 7 lifecycle gives Microsoft the perfect opportunity to undo past wrongs and upcycle it instead. Well, don't hold back, will you? And in fact, there is a page on Windows 7 sins. Very nice. They want to send Microsoft a strong message, so take a stand with them, not just for ourselves, but for future generations of computer users. Well, very nice indeed. Well, I have to say that Microsoft have released one of their operating systems as open source. So DOS, version 1.25 and 2.0. So they gave the files to the Computer History Museum in 2014 and released it on GitHub. Oh, what is that, 2018? But not sure if that's exactly the time, but okay, let's say 2018. So when was DOS version 2 released? PC-DOS 2, released in 1983. So roughly 35 years then. Back in the time that the IBM Personal Computer XT came out. That's a very nice case. Actually, I really do like that case. And that keyboard is very nice as well. Mechanical and very expensive these days. Having a nostalgia moment here. Anyway, so 83 to 2018, so 35 years. Well, given that Windows 7 came out in 2009, we can expect it to be released as open source in roughly 2044. So, got a bit of time to wait then, haven't we? And I wonder if they're going to release any of their other versions of DOS as open source, given that development was kind of split between Microsoft and IBM, and then they actually split up and went their own separate ways. So that's why you get PC-DOS, then MS-DOS, then IBM-DOS. So you got kind of different versions there. That's why they went their own separate ways. In fact, perhaps that's worth more of a talk about in history, but yeah, for now, let's just say that the ownership of DOS could be debated there, and that Microsoft may well never release another version. But anyway, of their own Windows operating system, so Windows 1, 3.1, 95, the rest of them. So we might see them as open source at some point. I'm not going to rush to see it, but anyway. I'm not sure we'll see Windows 7 anytime soon. So the question is, what should users of Windows 7 do? And I see this lovely article from Canonical. Why should you upgrade Windows 7 to Ubuntu? Oh, come on, we're off to a great start already. Look, I like using Linux, but that is kind of a really bad attitude to take. Upgrading Windows 7. Like, the people who are using Windows 7 are happy using it, or are content using it. They've avoided all the opportunities to upgrade. Go to Windows 10, perhaps we should say. They're still using Windows 7. They reckon that 750,000 people using Windows 7, although their source is Shodan. Well, that is the Google of hardware devices on the internet, so I would be dubious about that source, because that's not going to show people just connecting to the internet on a particular device. So anyway, I would be dubious about that number. We can say that number of people there have not rushed to change to any other operating system despite the time they've had. And are they likely to use Linux at this point? Don't know. They might want to, but they should never feel forced to use it. And although Canonical have tried to raise a very good case here, saying some of the applications you can run on it, Blender, I'm sure that's one of those everyday applications that many people run. Nope. there is a case, but should this be the answer for people using Windows 7? I think no. The real answer should be you can carry on using it, but the risk of using it becomes ever greater because there will be exploits found on the operating system. It'll be easier to get malware into it. Support for applications will become more difficult. Yeah, the risk of using it right now, nothing. The risk of using it in a month's time, well, we might see one more month of updates. Or if there was a really easy exploit that just completely owned the operating system, if that was discovered now, then I would expect to see a patch for Windows 7 for free next month. So yeah, right now, risk is minimal. 6 months' time, I don't think that'll be the case. The risk will be ever increasing, and if a spectacular vulnerability was found in, say, July 2020, then I expect to only see that patch being available to the people who have paid for the extended support release. So that'll be businesses. Won't be for you or I, everyday users using that system. No. But when our application is likely to stop working, and I took an example here from Mozilla. So a question was asked. That was actually late last year. There's no plans to drop Windows 7 just yet, although eventually it will occur when someone introduces code that can only run on Windows 8 and higher and can't be made to work on Windows 7. One day by surprise I was doing a Firefox and Thunderbird update and received a notice that Firefox and Thunderbird were no longer supported in WinXP, and I had to scramble to get Windows 7 up and running. So yeah, you will find that eventually unsupported operating systems will become unusable for developers to write code for. Well, not unusable, but not be worthwhile for them to write software for. So yeah, that is the real risk, and I think that is perhaps the way to encourage people who are still using Windows 7, just explain it, that there is a risk of exploits and vulnerabilities. They will no longer be in control of their own operating system, well, although that's debatable to start with, but they'll no longer be in as much control as they currently have. And that applications they're using will also suffer the same fate and become unusable too. And then if they're asking what the answer is, well, you can say, you can go to Windows 10, you can buy a new machine, or you can try Linux. There's your choices. But let's not force one particular answer. So anyway, that was a bit of news that the Free Software Foundation is encouraging Microsoft to upcycle Windows 7. Something which I don't see happening anytime soon, especially while Microsoft can still reap the benefits of selling the extended support release. Well, thanks for watching. See you all later.